Please see the description beneath the video, which outlines the context for the footage, as well as the questions to which Uli is responding.
Driving out, you could see there was like quite big sort of easterly swell, so rolling in from the rock towards Simonstown, and then like a very strong, consistent southeast wind blowing, picking up like a little bit of wind chop that was a bit more straight towards Fisher, but still like would take you, if you followed it dead straight, it'd probably take you slightly left with the quarry. Yeah, so I think previously it's always been sort of said that the best conditions to do the record would be like very strong wind and then like small swell to try and like push over. But I think for me, I actually quite like having big swell, especially if it's east like that, because then you can kind of, if you can build up enough speed, and you can kind of surf down to the right on the faces, and then you pick up a lot of speed. So if you can hold and maintain that, then that is quite fast, and you don't necessarily need to jump over the swells. You just have to navigate the wind chop. So yeah, luckily there were a few instances where like you kind of hit wind chop on the faces of the bigger swells, and then that's not so good because you take water up as well. So I paddled into the wind for 10 minutes and then surfed down towards the rock just to see what like the speeds were like on the runs. So I sort of lined up like a little bit to the right, so you give yourself a little space, and so you don't want like too much of the rebounds. Then generally the line I take is I just aim for the quarry, and then initially I try and build up quite as much speed as I can. So sometimes you go a little bit more to the left, but you have to always be aware that you got to, from the rock to the lighthouse, or just before the lighthouse, that first stretch, you got to always sort of surf off to the right to maintain your depth. Otherwise you get stuck inside the quarry and end up more like playing clear side. Obviously there are periods where they're better runs and not better runs, but I mean you never really, like I was never in a period of like just sitting. You're always catching something and linking something, using it, or even if you've come off like a chain of runs, you still have residual speed, so then I'm looking for like a crest. So you never you are like, you're linking runs from start to finish. My fast split was just before the lighthouse, I think lap 5 or 6. It was 2:54. So yeah, that's generally when like the run sort of clean up a little bit. Yeah, and then sort of as I was approaching the lighthouse, I remember being like very fast, and then I remember there like having to focus really hard just to not make a mistake and come off from chasing like the crest that I was after. My top speed, so just looking at like the graph, it's around kilometer 5. So I mean that's just before the lighthouse, somewhere there. So when it starts to like the runs kind of like get a little bit cleaner and they start running like a little bit more evenly. So there, I think probably what with one of my fast Ks as well, you like pick up a good particularly steep run, and then if you surf for long enough you build up to a higher speed. My heart rate, I did have it on, so I have a reading. I sort of feel like it's a little bit lower than I would have thought. It was like average around 140-ish, and then it peaked at like 168. Yeah, I just had to get myself and my boat up to very, very high speed to begin with, to get onto the runs, or the runs I was after, because they were traveling quite fast. So if you can't like initiate getting onto them with your own power and speed, then you're not going to catch them. So I would say like that was the hard part, and then from there kind of jumping or linking in the next runs, because the periods were quite long. You then had to, I was sprinting pretty close to full tilt for short sort of 15-20 second periods. So that's it's not like a sustained high heart rate effort. It's like a instant sprint, and then you got to surf and steer to come back down again. So mistakes wise, I'd say the only thing that was, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but what I was very aware of is that I was, because of the angle of the runs, I was getting sucked very close in towards the quarry, especially when I was approaching Fishhook. So it meant that coming in to Fishhook Bay at the wall there, I was very close. I was barely 50 meters from the rocks, which is I generally prefer a little bit more room there, so it gives you a little bit safer feeling. And also my 2 kilometers coming into the bay, they're a little bit slower than the period from just before the lighthouse to the bay. I think because I was trying to hold a slightly higher angle to the right to come in to avoid the rocks. I'd say that was the main issue, was because it was very easily just staying high enough on the line was very difficult. Pushing through a wind chop or trying to navigate around it, sometimes that water spills into your cockpit, which I try not to. I want the boat to be as dry as possible, because then it's the lightest. So there was a few points where I was costing myself because I'm taking on too much water. Can I go faster? Yeah, sure, why not? So I've done 36:03 with Hank in a double, and I mean I reckon sub 36 is possible. We're only 3 seconds away that time, and I mean this time round, in my single, I actually got to the beach, I touched the sand with my paddle, and as I touched the sand, I'd been pushing down all those foamies to try and get to the beach. As I touched the sand, I looked at my watch, it was on my arm, and it was 36:14 and 11:63. So I thought that was a little bit short, so I carried on until the rudder buried in the sand. But I mean, that's 36:14. I mean, from there, actually, it's only 14 seconds. So I actually think sub 36 is possible. How does it feel? I was pretty stoked when I got it. So I was paddling back out to go to the Hobie Club. I was really stoked and proud of the effort that I'd put in. It was just a random Thursday, but I mean it was a good Thursday. So yeah, and also it required a lot of focus for that short amount of time, but it was a period of intense focus. So I was really chuffed, and you feel you can relax after, which is really cool. And then also just I think it's cool for the Oaks who do Millers often and stuff in Cape Town, because that record's been around for so long, it maybe feels untouchable to some degree, but I think now it's just freshly broken, and I sort of feel it will maybe light a fire for people to get out there, even if you're not going for the record yet. I mean, you can still gives people motivation and incentive to just try. It's a good day, I'm gonna try do 15 seconds on my last previous best. So I think that's cool. And also I'm sure Darv is busy prodding Sam, being hey bro, don't you think it'd be cool to get the record back under Mocke name? Which I think that would be really cool. So if Japs is fresh one day and decides to give it a crack, I'm sure it'd be really cool if he can bring it down some more. And then if Sam, if he trains hard, like it's good motivation for him to try and like put a good time in and see if he can break it. I'm sure Sam, Jason, Kenny, all of these guys, like they're obviously if you fit to be training for races and stuff, it's like good motivation to go get after it. So I hope at least it's like a good thing for people to chase. When Jasper first got it, I was 15, so it wasn't kind of like, it was like something you don't really think you're ever going to do. And then so the first time, like Kenny and myself actually broke the Jasper's record in a double, and we brought it down to like, it was just under 36:20. And then like from there it was really cool to have that. And then we actually went again, I think, preparing for Freedom Paddle, and then we did like another, like it was like a low 36:20 something, and then it kind of felt like real. So then from there it was like, oh, it'd be cool to bring it down even more, get the singles record. And then actually Hank's always been like pestering me about it. Like, if he lived in Cape Town, he'd be going after it all the time. So I have told him before, just relax, I'll get it. So it is cool to finally have done that. No, there's something special about a world title. It's like, a record is cool and stuff, but world title is a world title. You can't beat that.